Whether you're fighting, healing, caregiving, treating cancer, or simply searching for hope, this space is for you. Welcome to FU Cancer, where meaningful conversations meet powerful community. My name is Juliette Jorgensen. I'm your host, a registered dietitian and cancer advocate, and together we're turning challenges into connection. Check out our platform on the web at fucancer.health. Hello, David. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we're so excited to have you here. David Dauman is one of FU Cancer's patient and caregiver champions. Since 2012, he has been battling multiple myeloma while also serving as a devoted caregiver to his elderly mother through her recovery from two separate cancers. David is co-chair of Moffitt Cancer Center's Patient and Family Advisory Council and a legislative advocate for the National Marrow Donor Program. Professionally, David is the CEO of Solutions House, a Tampa, Florida-based learning and performance consulting firm. He lives in Palm Harbor with his wife, Rona, children, Jacob and Lauren, and their golden retriever, Sadie. Outside of work, David enjoys long-distance cycling, cooking, reading, and cheering on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Well, welcome on, David. We are so lucky to have you here with us.
Thank you. Hopefully my dog Sadie won't bark because we have plans tonight, but
Aw,
so we'll
well,
see.
no worries if she wants to say hi. So we'll go ahead and kick it off with some questions.
Sure. Can't
So
wait.
yeah, you have quite a unique perspective in that you've lived both roles as a patient and a caregiver. What did you learn through these experiences that you think others might benefit from going through similar circumstances?
Now, Julia, unfortunately, I'm not as unique as you would think. A lot of the
Mm,
volunteers at Moffitt have worn both hats. But when thinking about
mm,
your question, it's really a totally different perspective. I hate boxing, but I'm going to use a boxing metaphor. So when you're the patient, you are the boxer in the ring. You're probably fighting an opponent in a much higher weight class, but you're the one. You get the shots. You're in there fighting for yourself, your future, your livelihood, your family. But it's your battle. As much as you want to tap out and have someone else come in, it's yours.
mm,
The caregiver is the person in the corner. They want to jump over the ring. They want to help, but they can't. And they are dealing with their own stress and worry, but they're stuck in their. So I think that's really the difference. What I would offer both caregivers and patients is the caregiver doesn't get to, I'll keep the boxing metaphor going, doesn't get a standing 8 count or to take a knee. They're going
mm,
to be exhausted and spent and burnt out, and no one's going to see it. So
mm,
caregivers need to ask for help, even from the patients. And
mhm.
patients, we also need to ask for help. So, wave the referee over. There's no shame in taking a breather because whether you're inside the ropes or not, it's a tough battle, as we all know. Anyone on this
Yeah.
call has experienced one or the other.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that metaphor. I think that really beautifully kind of captures what it feels like and also what it looks like to be both the caregiver and the patient. So, and you're right. I think it isn't necessarily unique. Your story is unique, but this situation that's happened, being the patient and the caregiver, I think you're right. So many people do experience.
I think it's
Yeah.
very common between spouses or
Mhm.
partners. The fact
Mhm.
that I have an intergenerational relationship, maybe I'll keep my unicorn helmet on for the rest of the call. So.
Well, sounds good. That's still a great metaphor. Really, really love that. So people sometimes picture the patient as simply receiving care, right? But life doesn't stop because someone has cancer. You still have family, as you just said, you still have responsibilities, work, relationships, and everyday stressors. What tips, tricks, or resources did you use to navigate your own care while caring for your family member?
So, as a cancer patient, I had a 1 and a 3-year-old and an amazing
Mm,
wife, juggled all that. But I still, as a patient, was a closeted cancer patient. I didn't want my clients or employees or other relatives to know
mm,
until last minute. But when I came out and shared my condition, everyone was there to help. Caregivers don't get that opportunity. Now, there's a family medical evac that if you're in a position you could take advantage of, but that's not unlimited.
Mm,
I think employers and others don't necessarily support. Some do, some don't.
mhm,
Uh, the advice I would give to caregivers is partition your time. You're wearing a lot of hats. So the time that you have to be your company person, the employee of someone else's company, do that with gusto.
mm,
When you're being your own family's CEO or CFO, do that and use each partition in your life as like a respite from the other things. When you're a caregiver, focus on that. When you're
mm,
handling other responsibilities, focus on that. And I think that segregation added some clarity for me. And
mm,
again, I'm going to probably say this throughout our call, ask for help. So patients can't do it alone and neither can caregivers. What I found as a caregiver and a patient is when you ask for help, you're going to get two different responses and both will be surprising. Some will come to your rescue, your family's rescue in ways that will fill your heart, and some will break your heart. There are
mm,
some that won't be there for you when you need them
mhm.
as either a patient or a caregiver. But if you don't ask, you'll never know. So
Yeah.
deal with the rejection because some people will delight you. And if you don't ask, you'll never know and you'll never get the help you need. This is not a
Mhm.
one-on-one. So it's too hard of a battle by yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's a super important reminder. I think we often go through life in general thinking we can do everything on our own, but asking for help is so vital and important. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I want to learn a little bit more. You mentioned how your family was just the cornerstone and so helpful as a part of your journey. Your wife, and I know you have your two kids, and but family dynamics can sometimes be incredibly complicated during cancer diagnosis. How do caregivers balance protecting someone they love while still respecting their autonomy?
Yeah. So as a patient, you
Mm,
almost get to hide in the bed or hide in the bathroom when you're going through nausea and let all the family dynamics work themselves out.
mm,
As a caregiver, you're on the opposite end of it. So my mom, when she got her cancer, she was 89. I was about 3 years removed from my battle. So
mm,
when I had to step in, I have an older sister who lives, in the Northeast. I'm in Florida. So I was primary, though she was involved remotely and came down from time to time. But I considered my mom, this might sound horribly hard-hearted, but I consider her as a client, not as a mom. So I
mm,
really wanted to get clarity on what her desires were, and then I protected those. And it put
mhm,
me in a weird spot because I knew I was perhaps being that proxy who would deny or reject life-saving treatment or end-of-life issues. But we had a very clear discussion. What I told her was, when I had cancer, I was 50 with a 1 and a 3-year-old.
mm,
So I made the choice with my wife that we were going to grab every clinical trial, every new drug, every treatment available because I was fighting for my kids.
mhm,
My mother was an 89-year-old widow when she started her cancer battle. She had two different cancers. And I think she earned the right to not fight as ferociously as I did. I had to live within her decisions. I also had to know that being a patient, I understood what chemo brain was like and just cancer fog and
mm,
fatigue, that I had to make decisions at her pace and understand that she needed a lot of reinforcement and clarity. And there are other caregivers, and everyone wants to be a hero. And sometimes you have to leave the family dynamics behind
yeah.
whatever, if it was a sibling or a relative and you had a disagreement 40 years ago, it's going to come up in the middle of a caregiving battle.
Mm.
You just put that aside. It takes a little self-awareness and a lot of luck, but it all works out.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of those are lots of gold nuggets that I think a lot of people need to hear. And I love that, your mom is your mom, but you did see her as a client in that you're wanting to put her needs first. You want to respect her autonomy. And I think that's really honorable. And
Thanks.
that's how it should be. Yeah, she's a human and deserves the right to what she wants. So, as difficult as that may be. So, You've experienced cancer from both sides of the hospital bed, right? So, how did being a patient change the way you cared for your mother? And how did caring for your mother change the way you viewed your own cancer?
So this is a really interesting question. So
Mhm.
uh, I think this reinforces my last answer. I was my mother's guide and servant. I wasn't the driver of the bus. So that's a weird metaphor, but so be it. So I knew as a patient what ambiguity, fear, and confusion laid ahead. So I think it made me a better caregiver because
Mm.
I was there myself.
Yeah.
I also knew that she needed extra patience, and she probably wasn't going to ask for the help she needed because I didn't. So I assume
Mm.
that's a family trait. I also thought, I mean, I think her disease reminded me that cancer, as horrible as it is, no one wants it, is
Mm.
sort of a form of enlightenment. I understood that life was more precious because I had a chance to keep mine or lose mine through my cancer
Yeah.
battle. It was touch and go for a while. And it also made me appreciate my own recovery because there's a chance, for a while, there was a chance I wasn't going to be there for my mom. And
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that I was because that was one of the highlights of my life to be able to repay my mother for what she's done for me my whole
Mm.
life. So I was happy I
Yeah.
was there. So I was grateful that my journey is a successful one so far. No one knows for sure, but so far so good.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And so, throughout your journey, you've become an advocate at Moffitt and with the National Marrow Donor Program, and now also a patient champion with FU Cancer. At what point in your journey did you really feel called to use your experience to improve the cancer continuum for others?
So one of the things you'll experience, Julia, as you get older, and my kids will as well, is older people will give you cultural references you probably never heard of. So I'll try one and we'll see if it works. So it's a very, very famous 20th century quote from the comedian Groucho Marx, who said, "I would never want to be in a club that would have me as a member."
Mm.
So you're in the cancer club, you're admitted and you never get let go. I mean, so maybe this is a Sopranos or a Goodfellas reference that, you're admitted and you never get out.
Mhm.
But in that fraternity and sorority, I think all of us are looking for a way to express gratitude and pay forward. So
Right.
I find this through all the volunteers I work with, even those who have lost their loved ones, they're still trying to find a way to say thank you for the care that their loved ones got. No one's
Mm.
guaranteed a result. So we, call it gratitude, call it survivor guilt, call
Mhm.
it divine inspiration. But as you search for that, I think we all know that as fellow members of the Cancer Club, we have a unique perspective. I found solace and I found support and guidance from fellow myeloma patients more
Mm.
than I even did my own providers. And one or
Yeah.
two that guided me died on their battle before I even got a chance to thank them face to
Mm.
face. So you search for those ways to even the score and to pay the community forward. And that's one reason I'm so excited about FU Cancer, because I hope we establish our own community where we could all pay forward for each other and find an outlet for that gratitude.
Yeah, yeah, that's the goal. And you're doing it, you're living it. So thank you again for being a part of the FU Cancer Patient Champion program and for all that you do. So
You could
yeah,
Google
thank you.
Groucho Marx after the call. So
We also hear so much about preventing caregiver burnout, but less about how caregiver health directly affects patient outcomes, which I know we touched on a little bit. So, why is it so important for caregivers to give themselves permission to rest?
So I was actually monitoring a clinical trial that Moffitt did, Moffitt Cancer Center, that looked at a program that gave caregivers sustainability through the stem cell transplant, which was how we were all treated back then.
Mm.
And those who took care of themselves, actually, their patients had better outcomes. So it was a direct correlation, and that the
Wow.
test proved it. And I saw in my own experience, so caregivers try, I did it with my mom, my wife did it for me, try to burn themselves out in some sort of therapeutic fashion. That if I exhaust myself, somehow my loved one will have less chemo issues, less pain, less tumor growth. What doesn't work? You
Mm,
know, back to another sports metaphor, if caregiving's a race, I think caregivers burn themselves out too soon.
mm,
They're often needed more than any part of the race on the last leg. And especially when your loved one is in a hospital or under active clinical care, that's the time that you really need to take um, those relaxing, those respite moments because your job is really going to be down the road a little bit.
mm,
So I would say find those moments and do those as a form of care for your loved one. Go get the coffee, go to the cafeteria, this YouTube video and just watch it and laugh. It's for the benefit of your loved one because
mhm.
your job is going to get harder as the journey goes on. So don't burn out because if you sprint in the beginning, you're not going to be good for anyone, especially your loved one. So pacing
Yeah,
is so important.
important. Yes. Yeah. I loved those examples you gave as well, finding ways to find calm in the chaos, right?
For sure.
Yeah. So, having lived on both sides of the experience, what do you wish each role understood about the other?
So I would, as a patient, I would ask my caregiver or any other family member to allow me to share my feelings and fears and don't talk me out of them. I
Mm,
didn't have the presence of mind to do this back when I was in active treatment.
mhm.
So I believe faith and optimism are really important, but patients need a place to vent their fears and their pains. And if the caregiver is always talking them out of it, don't worry, dear, we're going to
Mm,
make this. Don't be scared. Don't be worried. I think the patient starts bottling up their concerns. So we need an outlet to
yeah.
express ourselves, and that's the caregiver usually.
Mhm.
On the caregiver side, I would tell patients to say thank you once in the beginning, and then that's it. So don't feel guilty that I'm there for you. As I mentioned earlier, caregiving for my mom, and I still do because she's going to be 97 next Saturday. I'm there. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's a
Wow.
gift
Mm,
that I'm most proud of. It is the ultimate. I call it being caregiving the ultimate hallmark experience.
mhm.
It says I love you more than anything else you could do. And when you're there for that person, that's your return, that's your reward. So the patients don't have to constantly feel guilty that you're there because you want to be. And if you don't want to be and you're not there, that's going to be a bitter taste you'll carry with you for your life. But
Right.
caregivers on this call, I'm sure, are active. So your patients don't need to thank you because you're doing it for your own peace of
Mm,
mind and your own heart.
yeah. Those are both really great pieces of advice. So, thank you.
So,
And yeah, we just have one more question this evening. If you could redesign cancer care based on everything you've experienced as both a patient and a caregiver, what's the one thing you would change that would better support both parties, both the patient and the caregiver?
okay, so I feel like this is one of these genie moments. You're giving me one with uh, uh so my
You can give a
first question,
couple.
thank you. The first one I know can't happen.
Mm,
Uh, I wish that cancer was not so toxic financially. And that's a
mm,
social, governmental, societal issue.
mhm,
Cancer is hard enough, and we all know what all the financial toxicities of cancer, and that's tragic. We all go through them in one way or another, and I wish that didn't happen. So here are
mm,
my two wishes that maybe we can have happen, maybe not.
mm,
So I wish as a society that we approach cancer without guilt. No one asks for cancer. No one really causes their own cancer, but there is
mhm,
a sense of guilt. I wish we could embrace illness and even death with a more balanced perspective and not be so frightened with
mhm.
the sense of damnation. There are some really graceful moments during a cancer battle, whether the patient lives or not. And it's a shame that this has to be, I won't say morbid because it is life and death, but
Right.
that's one thing. The other wish would be I wish there was a pill or a patch that would suspend pride. It's
Mm,
okay to be scared. It's okay to ask for an explanation, to express overwhelm, to ask for help and comfort. So I think the people that we need in healthcare are angels waiting to go to heaven. I mean, that's where they work in a
mhm,
hospital while they're still on earth. And they're there to help, but we're always too proud to ask. We're always too proud to ask our loved ones for help.
Hmm.
And I think it would make cancer a much easier experience if that is at all possible for us to just put pride aside and pick it up when we get our first lab results that say we're in remission. But until then, pride has no
Yeah.
place in cancer.
Yeah. I love all of those. So true. So good. Thank you so much. I just feel like you gave us such a big wave of wisdom on this call, and all of your bits of advice I know will be much needed and appreciated for all of our listeners. So thank you again, Mr.
That's great.
Dahlman, for coming on and chatting.
Thank you, Juliet. It was a pleasure, and I look forward to meeting all of you one day at an FU cancer meetup or a Zoom call or something. So thanks
Yes,
for
yeah,
being part of
absolutely.
cancer. And thanks for all you do, Juliet.
Oh, of course. Thank you. The conversation doesn't end here. Join our community today at fucancer.health for trusted education, real community, and resources. We are here for you every step of the way.